I love when coaches, consultants, and professional service providers want to do big things in their business. They want to rise to the top and influence their market and the world around them. They want to have a greater impact and make a more lucrative income. Well, if this is you, welcome to Expert in You podcast, the show where I interview other experts and coaches, consultants, so that they can share their success strategies with you. We're going to talk about marketing and how to close more sales, how to get more premium clients, and how to really build your visibility in the market and scale your business like a boss. If this is you, welcome to the show. I want to ask you to subscribe and hit the notification bell right now so you don't miss one episode. Grab your coffee and buckle up because we are ready to give it all to you to help you become the expert and get paid as the expert that you are. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Expert in You podcast. Today, I have a guest who, oh my goodness, I love his title. He is called the CEO, actually, Chief Encouragement Officer. It doesn't get any better. That's the best title for a CEO. And I have Matt Upton with me today. Hi, Matt. Welcome to my show.
Hey, Ann. Hey, Ann. Thanks for allowing me to be here with you. It's such an honor. Such an honor.
It is so great to have you, and I love everything that you're doing, and I can't wait for you to share with our audience. So we're going to talk about conquering your challenges, which is Matt's main thing here. You can actually see that behind him, but he has done some pivoting and some shifts through the pandemic that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about overcoming challenges and just how to help you build a better coaching, consulting, or, business as an entrepreneur. So Matt, we are going to jump right in. I hope you're ready for this. Let's have some fun.
Let's have
Perfect.
Fun.
So Matt, tell everyone a little bit about you, your background. You've been doing this a long time, a lot of years. Give everyone just kind of a clip of your expertise.
This came and found me. I never dreamed of being a coach or a speaker or anything like that. In fact, in the 10th grade, my very first public speech was in science class, and Mr. Hegelson, part of the grade was the oral report. And so I went to Mr. Hegelson and I asked him if I hired somebody to do my oral report, would it be all right? and he said, well, nobody's ever asked me that, Matt. And if you can get somebody to do it, I'll give you full grade. And about $10 later, I got somebody to do it. And I got a grade, and who would have known that I'd be doing this kind of work from that start.
I love it. I used to say, I was told all through my life, oh, Ann, you have the gift of gab. So I was able to utilize that in speaking and all of those things along the way. So I love it. That's great. So what got you into actually doing what you're doing right now?
Well, what started is just about every job I had quick success in doing that. And so those in charge would ask me if I could put together some training for everybody else to have that success as well. Mm-hmm. And recall, I didn't set out to do this. It came and found me. And so as I began to do that, there were these rumors going around that Matt knows something. And so other people would call me and they would ask me. And the next thing I know, over a period of time, I'm being asked to come to this city and do some training with this company and with this company and with this person. And then people started asking me, could I hire you as a personal coach? And I had never really thought about that. Mm-hmm. And so I said yes. And it's almost scary to look back and see what I charged them.
We can all say that.
Right. And then I heard somebody say, create an invoice that scares you. And so that's where that began. And I just enjoy being able to come alongside of people and help them find their best and bring it to their world. Because if they bring it to their world, then they upgrade the entire world. And if each of us do that, and that's why I think at the end of the day, us coaches do what we do.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So I have to, so funny thing here, you would say, you heard create an invoice that scares you. I would say, okay, now that you've created that invoice, double it.
Oh, good.
Double
Good.
that, Matt. Okay. So, Matt, who do you help and what are the things that you actually do in your business?
Most of my business, most of my serve is what I call it, is towards and for school nutrition directors and their staff. Mm-hmm. And then who I refer to as the LGs, the lunch gals and lunch guys, mm-hmm. who actually serve frontline with students. The bulk of my business is towards those people. I think they're the best that there is at school districts. And often they are the least appreciated and least recognized. Mm-hmm. And so when I come by and become their CEO, their chief encouragement officer, that's where that just rolls out. And here's something else, Ann, that I want to share with you. I've been doing this now directly with school nutrition directors and assistant directors and their teams mm-hmm. now since 2001. Okay. And to this day, I've yet to call anybody up. I've never called anybody up. I've never sent out an email. I've never sent out anything to ask them if I could come and be their speaker and be their coach. They call me because they heard about it from somebody else. Mm-hmm.
And that's fantastic.
And in every business venture that I've had where it involved me speaking and coming and giving my best serve to people, that's how I've done that. And, at times it can be a little bit frightening. At other times, though, it sure puts a lot of, it widens the margin because I don't mm-hmm. spend as much money in advertising.
Yes, absolutely. So how did you get into working with schools, Matt? That's a unique, what you're working in is a very unique yes. area.
What happened is I was deployed to go resolve some conflicts between a group of Hispanic businesses. They were battling out. Mm-hmm. And I went there to help them discover the jewel, the treasure that was inside of that conflict. And one morning while I was coming down the elevator to go meet with 5 of them, a lady walked in. And you know how it is when somebody walks into an elevator, you're in that 10 by 10 square space. You don't know them. Mm-hmm. You don't know what to say. And she had a book tucked underneath her arm. And I used that book to begin a conversation. And it turns out that her and I went to the same high school at the same time and didn't know each other. And she had a business up north that was flatlining. And so she hired me to become their consultant / coach. Mm-hmm. And she and her family produced a handheld entree for school nutrition. And that's how I got into school nutrition, because as I helped them rescale their business and reposition themselves so that they could reboot and just really get back in touch with what they brought to the table as a serve. I started doing professional development for school districts.
I love it. What a great name. I love it. You hear, a lot of coaches do, they go in and work with schools, but I've never really heard it from in the area that you're actually working in with them. So yes, what a unique niche, which is one of the things that jumped out at me. Several things. I actually met Matt on LinkedIn and looking at everything that he was doing as I'm looking for experts to bring on the show. And I just loved all the things he talked about, but definitely a very unique niche. So that's so interesting. So that makes you different, first of all, from a lot of other coaches out there, a lot of other leadership coaches and personal development coaches, just how you've kind of really defined yourself in the coaching space. How well has that worked for you? Because one of the things that I talk about is you really need to choose a niche in this market, because you can go faster and further and you can become the expert, and you truly have become the expert. So how has that worked for you?
In choosing the niche, the opening days of that is rather scary. It's rather daunting, because our mindset is the wider I am, the more opportunities I have. And so to let go of this wider perspective and really hone in on something is rather frightening. And it's exactly opposite of what we feel deep down in our soul, our mind, will, and our emotions. And to make that leap in that direction can be daunting, can be scary. And there can be some days where nothing seems to happen.
That's business, right? That's just business. Yes.
And we have to stay true to that and just keep drilling down and planting the seeds. And so in the opening days, it was frightening. It was frightening. And staying true to it has paid off. It has paid off. And once it started kicking in, as I said, I still haven't had to go find business. It comes and finds me. The only time in my career that I've had to really go and make myself more available is on March the 13th, when the great pandemic hit us. On that morning, I had a completely full calendar for the rest of that year, into the next year, and tapping into what we are in now in 2022. That was on the 13th. On the 17th, I had a completely empty calendar.
That I actually love that we're talking about this, because I cannot tell you how many coaches and consultants I come across online and have conversations with that say, I went back and got a job. I'm not doing my coaching business. I'm not doing my consulting business. So I would love for you to share what you did to survive that, and how you made that pivot or that shift in your business.
There was two things, actually three, to be honest with you, Ann. When it first happened, the truth is I panicked. I panicked. I wanted to pull the button so the oxygen mask would fall and I could breathe again, because literally within a half a day, all of my emails were school district boards were declaring null and void any contract. Every contract. I had to negotiate travel fees, and it was rather scary. Well, and you'll remember in those opening days of the pandemic, we believed it would be a couple of weeks. It'd be maybe 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, we said through 90 days, this thing be over.
And so I knew I had enough resources that would be all right. I would just dig down and create more content and just do that. Well, 90 days came and went. And so what I did is staying committed to staying away from outboard marketing and just receiving inboard marketing. I hooked up my 29-foot trailer and I began to travel from one end of the state of California to the other, and its width from east and west, and ended up traveling almost 6,000 miles, went to 85 different school districts and 101 different sites. And by the time it was all done, I stood alongside LGs, lunch gals and guys, in the rain, in the snow, in the torrential wind, hot wind, cool wind, burning down sun, and I was honored to be able to serve just over 1.5 million meals at the curb. I watched and helped and coached school nutrition people in making that shift from literally being the only people of the school district that was outside in front of the public. While everybody else in school districts were figuring out how to do what you and I are doing today, school nutritionists were figuring out how to bring their serve to the curb. And I got to be with them. And as a result of that, I stayed current with them. And here's the truth. Some days, and they paid me nothing to do that. All of that was out of my own pocket. And it was such an honor to be able to do that.
It's giving me chills, Matt. I just want you to know that. I'm getting chills.
Incredible. Let me just describe one event. It's the Thursday before Thanksgiving. A school district that I was with their school director had decided that their team needed time off. And so she put to her team, you go out and find turkeys, and we're going to put Thanksgiving dinner in everybody's trunk. And so they found turkeys, they found all the fixings, and the Thursday before Thanksgiving, starting at 5 a.m. in the morning till 5 p.m. in the morning, we served just over 7,000 families. All of them received the turkey and all the fixings for Thanksgiving supper. And I got to be there with them. That day, it started off in the fog. It was cold, it was misty, and everybody showed up. It was just amazing to do that. And today, I am attached to that school district. I am their personal coach. Every one of the 126 staff members that work inside of school nutrition have my phone number in their phone, and they text me and call me regularly. And it was because I just brought my best serve. And I think that that's what coaches, to really up their game, to really up their deal, they got to move from being these salespeople to specialists in their style of serve.
It's not transactional, is it?
No, their style of serve, because all of us have different thumbprints. Even my left thumbprint and my right thumbprint doesn't match. So does none of us match each other. And so we have to find that niche, find that niche, and bring our best serve to that specific zone. And in time, it'll come find you. It'll take good care of you, and it'll take better care of you than anything you could ever imagine.
I love it. Oh my goodness. What an incredible, inspiring story. And I just love it. And you conquered a challenge. Like you said, you kept yourself relevant, and you were able to give back and serve at the same time. So that is such an incredible story. First of all, thank you for doing that, Matt. That's awesome.
It's a privilege.
Yeah.
I would invite everybody that's listening to your podcast, to this podcast, everybody that's listening or watching, I would invite you to find a school district, find an LG, and write them a note of gratitude, because what they did is they not only served students, they served their siblings and they served their families, and they were the only ones from school districts who were out there in front of them, not even knowing how powerful the pandemic and how powerful the virus was. And they've made every kind of shift. They were in the early days, I had to help coach them through 7 changes in a day.
Wow.
Because the USDA was making changes on their new information. Department of Education was saying, this is what we need you to do. And literally what they started out doing had to be changed in an hour or two. It was amazing. It was amazing to do all that.
I love everything that you're sharing, and what a blessing for them too, that you showed up the way you did and you were able to help them the way you did. And yes, such a good takeaway for everyone that he he threw out a challenge for us, didn't he? So thanks for that, Matt. That's wonderful. What have been, in growing your coaching and consulting business, one thing that you said is, I've really never had to market. That's fantastic. If you have that kind of a business, a lot of coaches and consultants don't, right? They do have to do that marketing. But what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced in building your coaching business? If you can remember back, of course, you've been doing this 20 years. What are some of those challenges, if you can think about those?
The biggest challenge, it's easy. The biggest challenge was what I now consider some faulty training. I
had some of that. We just had that conversation.
I was trained to look at all the other coaches and watch them, and then find the areas that I could be like them in their success, and find my niche. And that proved for me to be faulty training. What I had to do was turn that around and look at me. I had to look at me and find what my best is. what my bright spots are, what my spots of elevation are, what my sustainable serve is, and what my tangible gifts are to people, what my best is. Mm-hmm. And then find ways to make that better and bring that to those people that were in front of me. And that was the most difficult part for me, was to abandon that other and just really buy into my best. And that if I kept bringing my best, eventually the best would come back and find me. Mm-hmm. And it did. And that was the most difficult. That was the most challenging of all of them, because nobody was teaching that. Nobody was modeling that. And yet for me, it was so empty trying to be like the great Ann. Yes. You know, I couldn't be you. I couldn't be all those other people out there. Mm-hmm. When I would sit next to historic writers and historic coaches and have a meal with them, and then I would look at them and be envious of who they were trying to be that, and it just made me smaller.
Right.
It just made me smaller.
Oh my goodness, I love that we're talking about this, because one of the reasons I wrote my last book, Expert in You, it was exactly this. So often when coaches and consultants come into this industry, whether they go get a certification or they join an organization, everything is so cookie cutter and in a box. Yep. And it does not serve people. I see it over and over again. I went down the wrong road. It's really interesting. When I started, I actually was doing okay in my business. I told people I was going to coach them in their business, and I had clients and I had a network because I had already built businesses. So I knew business owners. And when I came into an organization, all that went downhill and went away because I was taught to sort of go into this box. Right. And what I found, and I talk about this in my book, is developing your sweet spot with your expertise. And that's exactly what you are talking about, is work in your sweet spot in your area of expertise. It's the fastest path, and it is the most aligned path.
Yes.
For coaches and consultants.
And once you buy into that, it lays itself out in front of you.
Absolutely.
Right now, you don't know what the steps are, but as soon as you totally commit to that and you make the leap in that direction, all of a sudden it lays out in front of you. And now for us who have done that, we just have to stay committed to that.
Yes.
Even in the middle of the storm. And that's what I had to do from the 13th of March to the 17th, when it all evaporated. All my contracts evaporated. And for a moment, I felt like I needed to call 911.
It's scary.
It was scary. And then when I just decided, I'm hooking up my trailer, I'm going out there. And I did. And it was the most amazing journey of all.
Yeah, the best things can come out of the hardest challenges, right?
Yes.
I never intended to work with coaches and consultants. I did work with them. They trickled into my business as I coached people in their businesses, but that was never my intention. But it was through my challenges and my experiences in this industry that brought me, like you said, it literally just became laid out in front of me. I have to do this. I have to save them from all the mistakes.
I was told a story, Ann, a long time ago that has stuck with me. By a fellow that had relatives in Africa, in South Africa. And he was told a story by somebody that lived there, that he was taught by his grandfather, that when you hear the roar of a lion, go towards that roar. Because what that lion is, he's an older lion, and he's roaring to cause you to run away into the young lion's mouth to become their food. And when we face a challenge, our tendency is to run away from that challenge. Often the challenge is the way. As we step closer to it, it's a large beast when we first see it. Yet the closer we get to it, the smaller it gets and the larger we get. And the exact opposite is true. As we move away from our challenge, it gets more daunting and we get smaller in our own minds. To gain confidence, we have to move towards the challenge.
Yes. Confidence is built, right?
Yes.
So, and it is built through challenges and obstacles. And, one of the things that one of the reasons I really wanted to interview you is because you have been doing this for 20 years, and that shows great resilience, great discipline, just something that just people struggle with today. So many people give up and quit. I've been doing business for 30 plus years. You've been doing it for 20 plus years. You have to just be committed and all in regardless. And it's the people that are flexible, the people that can shift, the people that can pivot, and the people that absolutely will not fail because it's just not in their nature to do that. So
somebody said to me quite a long time ago that I had bounce back DNA.
I love that. That's amazing. So there was something that you brought up. First of all, I love the lion story. I've never heard about that. I know one question I want to ask you is because is a lot of coaches and consultants, when they come into the industry, and I kind of bought into this at first too, is they feel like they need to get a certification. They feel like they need to go and learn all of this other stuff and get certified. Did you do that, Matt, or did you just get started?
No, I didn't.
Certified yourself. Way to go.
Yeah. And in fact, I was just one of my newest clients as attempting to do some things, and he was talking about his credentials. And does he need to go get credentials? And I said to him, his name is Devin. I said to Devin, you can go do that. The challenge is that you could try to mirror the people that are giving you the credentials. I said, the best thing that I would encourage you to do is to get some clients and learn how to listen to them. And it is in you learning how to listen to their dilemmas, to their discouragement, to their distractions, where you would discover your own personal credentials and confidence as you go forward.
Great advice. Great advice. I always say certify yourself, right? And that's why when you're working in things that are already natural and easy for you, and they're an expertise and a value that other people would find valuable, you don't have to be certified. I think in all the years I've been doing this, I was asked one time, are you certified? And I said, I've been doing business for 30 plus years. I think that's probably better than a certification, personally, in my opinion. But one of the things that I also think is that when coaches and consultants get into this industry, you don't really know what you're going to need or where you're going to fall. And so if you go and get a certification, it can actually slow down your results. It can actually slow down your business, and it can kind of sometimes pigeonhole you in a way, again, that doesn't align with you and it just isn't your sweet spot, so to speak.
I agree with you. And you have to have some resolve, though, because if you don't have resolve in my coaching practice, what I'll do is I want to create a contract, but often it's a per task consulting practice. And I close out every session with, these are the 3 to 5 things I want you to accomplish before you call me back. Because if they don't accomplish those things, they're really not committed to doing the work. And I don't want to just collect revenue.
Right.
I want to assist people in discovering their best serve to their world. And the only way you can do that is they got to do the work. I can't do the work for them.
Absolutely.
We can't do the work for them.
Absolutely.
And I want to go back to something you said about self-certification. Something that may alter someone's opinion about everything we've already said. Okay?
Go ahead.
I did not finish high school. I left high school to go into the military. Later, I got a GED, just enough diploma. And scored the second highest in the state of Kansas with that GED. Yet I've never had a college class. I've never completed a college class. And so today I'm coaching people who have earned PhDs, businesses, all kinds of degrees after their names. And nobody ever asked me, what's your level of education?
Right. It's because of what you can bring to the table. That's all they care about.
I've never been asked that.
Yes.
Ever.
No, I never have either.
When I say I have graduated, or I'm a continuing student in UHK, the University of Hard Knocks.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a continuing student. And I think that's the biggest thing, that if I could give anything to any coach that's listening right now, the greatest thing they can bring to the table is a consistent learner's spirit. They have to be willing to learn and be and quit putting their feet in concrete and put their feet in the sand that the ocean laps up against, and let it change. Let them move within that is what happens. That's the one thing that I would give to aspiring coaches.
I love that. And that is so true. I'm consistently learning. It's part of my work every single day. Every single day I'm learning from someone. I'm doing something different. You do have to implement what you learn, or it's a waste, right?
Yes.
But I totally agree with what you're saying, and that's really what I was referring to when I said you get a certification and you think that that's sort of going to carry you. And what you find is that it's this much of what might actually work or be a part of your business or help you build your business. And the other thing that is really something a lot of coaches don't understand is, if I go and get the certification, I'm going to have this great coaching business. They don't tell you still have to build the business, right? You still have to understand how to do the business stuff. And so it's very deceptive, I think, in that regard. But you don't really know what you need until you're in the weeds and you're doing the work. And then
that's why we have to have a constant learner's spirit.
That's right.
We have to be a student all the time. Because the moment you think you know it all, you haven't been out there long enough. Absolutely.
Well, that's, closed mind is the most costly thing you can have, right?
Yes.
Or to think you know it all. So no, I love that we're actually having this conversation. I don't think this has really come up before on one of my podcasts, with my guests. So this is amazing that we're talking about this. So Matt, what's I found you on LinkedIn. We connected on LinkedIn. What's your favorite? What is your purpose on LinkedIn? How do you use it? What are some platforms, or how do you use social media?
I heard a long time ago that pick one and really do your best to stay there. Because at first, I was trying to be in every one of them, which really didn't serve me, and it really kind of violated finding a niche. And so I do most of my work on Facebook pages. Most of mine's there. And then as I've discovered new widgets, now I can post one place and it goes several places.
Right.
And I love that, by the way. I think we need to really make a commitment to abandon working harder and really embrace working smarter. And so I don't do a lot of work at LinkedIn, because I do it over there on Facebook and then I shove it over there. And
so how do you use Facebook if you're working in schools in the nutrition part with the people in that sort of that sphere? How do you utilize Facebook for that?
Here's one thing that I did during the pandemic. Okay. Because they were suffering under great weight, and I couldn't get to every one of them. Every morning at 7:07 for 10 minutes for 460 days in a row. Think about that. For 460 days in a row, at 7:07 in the morning, you could find me live on Facebook.
Wow, that is a commitment, Matt.
I did 460 different 10-minute lists, 10-minute how to conquer the challenge of the day, how to upgrade your attitude. They were all different, every one of them. Every morning at 7:07, somewhere I was doing a Facebook Live. That I did that specifically for the LGs that I was serving. It grew to the point where people from Brazil, people from Africa, people from England, people from Spain were reaching back to me, thanking me for what I was saying. And I wasn't even saying it to them. I was saying it to the LG that was standing there with a plastic piece over them and a makeshift parka so that they could keep going. So they could keep going. And that's one of the ways that I did that. And I kept doing that. I just kept doing that. And then now about once a week, usually on a Monday, I will do the same thing and just give them a little bit. And then every day I post, every day I do it automatic. So it's set up in advance. But I do just a little sentence or a short paragraph with a picture and just give them a thought. Just give them a thought.
Interesting. That's amazing.
Because they need it. We need it. And what I find, I don't know if you're like this, Ann, but most of us don't have the time to scroll through 10 to 15 paragraphs of information.
Right.
And most of us, the people that I serve, they're capable of reading something, getting the inspiration, getting the lift, and instantly putting it into service with the people around. I'm constantly amazed when I'll show up somewhere and somebody will say, I remember you. You said this. And they dip back to one of those 460 707 broadcasts.
You know, one of the things I love about what you're saying too, and where you got your CEO title, Chief Encouragement Officer, is the fact that so often people that are in jobs, like especially lunch kind of jobs, and they do not necessarily have a desire to go out and personally develop, do personal development and grow themselves, right? It does become an exposure thing. What have they been exposed to? Do they understand the value of it? I know people that, once they graduated, they never opened a book again.
Yep.
And that's probably, quite honestly, if we were to really look at that, it's probably a huge amount of the people in the country.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yes, because people don't typically have growth mindsets like entrepreneurs do. I think that they're some of the most growth-minded people.
Yes.
People that are entrepreneurs. But I love that you are bringing that to them and letting them see what is possible, inspiring them. Those just amazing stories, Matt. I had no idea where this conversation was going to go. And wow, I have
Let me give the aspiring coaches, the ones that really listen to yours, another little thing that I do that increases my serve. Okay. Next week, I will be in Sacramento because the School Nutritionists of California have their annual conference. I'll be doing 3 workshops that I'll be giving to them. I do that as an investment in them. I'm the only one of the conference that's doing 3 because they flock into I will have the largest room, and that's taken years to develop that. From those 3 that I will do, I'll be invited to many school districts that I either haven't been to or I have been to, and I'll be able to come back. If you can find in your niche, wherever you're at, you can find a way to invest your best, the same way that a farmer would get up long before the daylight and till the ground and put seed in the ground. Your serve is your seed in the ground. And it will sprout. Not every seed comes forth, but most do. That old adage of we reap what we sow is not even true. The truth is we reap much more than we sow. You put one kernel of corn in the ground, just one, it grows one stalk, right? But on every stalk is 6 to 8 ears of corn. On every ear of corn is somewhere between 400 and 800 kernels of corn. So we reap much more than we sow. And so I would encourage each and every coach that's listening, find a way to sow your best on a regular basis.
I love it. You never know that's one of the things too about social media and all of the tools and the resources that we have available to us today is you literally, when you put that content out there and you repurpose that on 5 or 6 or 7 different platforms, you never know who is going to see that, where it's going to go, how it's going to inspire people. I know you have had this happen too, but I've had people message me and say, I watched your training on how to, create premium offers. And I want you to know that I just 10 times what I was making in my business as a result of watching your free training. And yes, I mean, you just will inspire, and it's just a trickle down, and you just never know where those things are going to go. So I love that you're doing that. You're talking about that. I even love the analogy you used about the corn. I think that's phenomenal. You can tell he has done a lot of this kind of stuff before. He's got great stories. He's got great analogies. And so I love this. So one more thing before we wrap this up, I always like to talk about how you are, because different coaches sell their services different ways depending on their clientele. Do you use proposals? That's one thing I would like to ask you. Do you write proposals for clients or for prospects before you take them on as a client?
It depends on what sort of coaching I'm doing. It really depends. If I'm working with an institution, right, an organization, I have to write them all the time. I just wrote 2 this morning because in January, the first week of January, I'll be working with 2 different school districts and coaching in both places. I'll be coaching their leadership. And to do that, you have to write the contract. You have to write the proposal.
Can I ask you something about that? So are these already really sold deals, and then the proposal and the contract is just sort of the final step to get it signed?
Most of the time, yes.
Okay.
Sometimes no. Sometimes they're asking for that proposal, and for me, and because of my style, often I am purposely vague on the details of the content because I feed off of you. Right. I want us to chase your heart, not my heart for you. Okay. That's gold that he is talking about, because one of the things is when I help people with the proposal process in their business is I always tell them less is more, less is better. You don't want to pigeonhole yourself in because you give too many details. And nobody cares about all of that anyway. And so when it's individuals, if you are hiring me to be your coach, we would agree on a time and the format, whether it's here or a meeting face-to-face or whatever. And we would agree on, normally what I do is the first hour is on me. The first hour is on me because it's my way of investing in you. And then before we leave, I let them know what it will take for us to invest in them on an ongoing basis. And I always require them to finish this little piece of homework before they call me back. Always. Because I found that I was sliding into this counseling mode rather than a coaching mode.
Mm-hmm.
And counseling, when it's psychiatry work and psychology work, is important. But in business, we're really not supposed to be their counselors.
Mm-hmm.
And then they become addicted to us and what we say. But the coaching mode, we just say, for you to show up, this is when this is happening. This is what you need to do to be here. And the ones that really mean business, guess what they do every time?
Mm-hmm.
They show up.
Yes.
They show up. I've got a client, probably technically they're not a client because they haven't contracted. They keep wanting to get together, yet they don't want to follow through. And so we haven't got back together.
Right.
So we
red flag. There's a red flag.
And,
yes.
And monetarily, there's probably there's some good monetary gains there. Mm-hmm. Yet it would be just a way for me to be distracted from where I can really make an investment in someone's life and in their career, again, in their world.
Yeah.
So yes, when it's a corporation or business, I always have to do proposal.
Mm-hmm. How do you sell your services? Do you sell them by session, by the hour, in packages? How do you typically offer your coaching?
I do it 3 different ways. And again, the potential client determines what way it is. If it's an individual, we do it per session and how many sessions we can be together. And I ask them to pay some of that up front so they can show commitment, so we can calendar it. When it's with corporations, I do it half a day, full day, weeks, or a number of sessions over the next 6 months or 4 months. And we write all that out and we contract that out.
Okay. And then how do you determine how much time you're going to spend with a client? How long do they typically stay with you?
Some clients, we create a 3-month agreement up first. Mm-hmm. And I toyed back and forth with that, Ann. I've done the year-long commitments, the 6-month commitment, and that's why I give them an hour off the bat, and it's my investment in you. Mm-hmm. And if you want to come back, then we can talk about these arrangements. And I like a 3-month commitment. Mm-hmm. That way we can make some movement, we can see the movement, and most importantly, they can see the movement in their own life. And I will teach them, depending upon our first conversation, I make notes. And depending on the first conversation, it will determine where we're going next. And most of them, what I find is they need some coaching on how to listen well. Because most of us don't know how to listen well. Mm-hmm. You know? Right. And I think coaches could really learn, as they learn how to listen well, they will invest in their business, in their homes, and their lives much better once they listen well.
I love it. Wow, this has been just full of gold. First of all, I love that you've shared just such wisdom and your expertise, and just you've given so much here. So thank you so much for that. What's next for Matt?
That's a good question. I'm in the process of repiloting all that, and what's next. I want to go in a larger area of the schools. I'd like to work with superintendents. And we're forming that. We're making some of those pivots. Just this morning, I was rewriting and retooling some of my thinking and some of my presentations, and more coaching with developing those stranded leaders, because that's really where I think I know I have a forte, because we get comfortable, we get in our comfort zone.
Right.
And greatness does not happen inside the comfort zone.
No, it does not.
And I teach people that they don't need to think outside the box, because there really is no such thing as outside the box. They're stepping into newer boxes. We create newer boxes. And every time you cross the comfort zone into discomfort, it eventually becomes a comfort zone. And every time we get comfortable atrophy sets in our soul, and we lose our creativity.
Quit growing. That's right.
Quit growing. And so we have to step beyond all that. We have to step out there and do that. And so I love to help people get to the edge, put their feet. That's why I wrote this book. Oh, yes, you can. Principles in Leapology. My daughter, Carol Ann, is the one that gave me the word Leapology. She'd come home from work one day doing what she loves. Ever since the 3rd grade, Carol Ann wanted to be a teacher, and she's a teacher today. And some of her colleagues were asking her about her dad, and she told them that I was a specialist. I was a specialist in Leapology.
I love it.
And I said to her, Carol Ann, I don't even know what Leapology is. She said this to me. She says, it's a made up word, Dad. Just like you make up words, I made up a word about you. And I said, well, tell me what it is. She said, my entire life, I've watched you partner with people and help them discover where they're at, where they want to go, and give them the courage and the confidence to leap to where they want to go. And she says, and I call that Leapology.
You are an icon. I love it.
And so I wrote that book from that. And that's my grandson, my oldest grandson, on the cover.
Oh, I love it. So how can they get your book, Matt? Can they go is it on Amazon?
It's available on Amazon.
Okay, we'll put all your links. Did you add that in the links?
I'm not sure I did.
Okay, I'll get that from you. We'll add all of your links and everything. Matt, do you have anything that you want to offer the listeners?
I've sent you what I call the Conqueror's ABCs. Okay? And it's just a run through the alphabet. Let me read a couple of them to you. Okay. Choose acceptance over accusation. Choose believing the best over betrayal. Choose courage over cowardness. Choose determination over destruction. And it goes all the way through the alphabet. I encourage people to read that every day.
Okay.
And some people need to read it every time. Literally every time their stomach says they're hungry, they need to pull this out and read it, because they need to retrain their mind to be a conqueror rather than someone that's always conquered by their fears.
Very good. So we will put the link to that. You can get that. Also, connect with Matt. He's on Facebook. He's on LinkedIn, Matt Upton. And you can hear his expertise and all that he has shared today. This has been such a pleasure, Matt. Thank you so much.
Every workshop that I do, every professional development where I have people in the room, every one of them, I ask everybody to take out their cell phone. And I ask them to find the add a contact page and enter my name and my phone number. And I tell them I want you to do this for 3 reasons. One is I want us to be friends after today. The second reason is I want you to know that you can call me or text me. You can say anything to me. And everything that you say to me will be just between you and I, unless, of course, you're wanting to hurt somebody. Then I'm going to tell you to hold, and I'm going to call them and tell them to avoid you. Or you're going to hurt yourself. I'm going to stand in the way of that. And thirdly, the reason I'm asking you to do that is so you can put your phone on silent. Because if it goes off and we hear it, I get to answer your phone. And so I want to encourage all your listeners to right now take out their cell phone, add my phone number.
There it is, right there on the back, right behind him.
916-708-8103. And when you text me or call me, just remind me how we know each other. And we know each other because of our great friend, Ann.
Well, thank you. That's wonderful. I encourage everyone to do that. Reach out to Matt, connect with him. You can just hear that you will learn so much from him, and you'll grow so much from just being a connection and a friend to him. So, Matt, I can't thank you enough. This has been amazing.
Thank you.
And it's been such
an honor to be here with you.
Oh, it's been my honor.
For sharing your space. That's a big deal. And I am just blown away and honored that you've done that. Thank you.
Except for you trying to get into my client call this morning. It's all good, Matt.
I did. I don't know how I did that.
Technology. I thought Matt was trying to be, when we were going to record, I was on Zoom with a client this morning, and I kept seeing Matt trying to get into my client call, and I finally messaged him. And long story short, we just had a time difference.
I miscalculated the time, and I just demonstrated my humanness.
Of course, I had to tease you about that, right? So
I think that's why, Ann, we're called human beings.
Right.
We're not human guns. We're human beings. We're in the process of being human.
I love it. Well, thank you again for being here. Thank you for sharing your expertise and your wisdom. Everyone, I appreciate so much that you share this time with me. Please make sure that you subscribe and like the podcast. And if you need any help in personal development, reach out to Matt. If you need any help in business growth, I certainly can help you with that. And thank you again. God bless you all. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
See you later.
If you've enjoyed this episode, I want to invite you to go check out a free training that I have at expertinu.us. It is a training that I have on how you can get ultra premium dream clients, scale your business, get more freedom, and really simplify your business and multiply your money. So go check that out. And again, that is expertinu.us. I want to thank you for being here with me this week. I hope you found massive value. Please always leave a comment, feedback, or a question. We check them all. And I want you to go rock your business and make sure you join us again next week. God bless you. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.